If you love the look of this card made with the Waterfront Stamp Set, then keep watching to learn the technique I used. Hi, this is Sage Kimball, and I'm the Mad Stamper, with another technique video for card makers and paper crafters. The Waterfront Stamp Set has great images that you can use to compose your own landscape. Then add a little water with an Aqua Painter, and you've got a piece that looks like you're a watercolor artist. Watercolor paper works best for this technique. As with any watercolor technique, you'll get different results each time you use them. I've drawn light pencil lines where I want the bottom of the mountains and a rough outline of the river's curve. I start with a light wash for the sky and just use my Aqua Painter to add some water. That way it'll keep the inks really light when I add them. So I'm going to take a bit of Marina Mist and then some Wisteria Wonder. Just to have a little texture in the sky area. You need to let one area dry before adding the next, otherwise the colors will bleed into each other. Next I'm going to add a line of mountains stamped with Wisteria Wonder roughly along this horizontal line. But I want them to descend in a slight diagonal from left to right. So I start with the center one. Then add the others to each side. Then I'll take the Aqua Painter and just blend the inks. And where there's this kind of blank spot, I can pick up some ink on the brush and just add it. Next, I want to add a line of mountains that look like they're further in the distance. So I'll stamp a line of them above this row here, but stamp off first so that they're quite light. And then I'll use the Aqua Painter on them. When the mountains are dry, I'm going to add a little bit of Always Artichoke at the base of them. And I'm going to stamp off a couple of times so that it's not real dark. You can see I'm starting to form the bank on either side. Now those got into the river. We'll see what happens as I start blending. So with this little area wet, I can take some paper towel and just blot off some of that ink. Next, I'm going to use the same stamp and add some crumb cake. And this time I'll be more mindful of where the river edge is. And now I'll blend these. Crumb cake is pretty light color and it does not blend as much as like the Always Artichoke. Now, because I want some texture in this area, I'm going to add soft suede in a few places with the same stamp. Now, soft suede is pretty dark, so I want to stamp off a couple of times. Oops, I didn't stamp off on that one, so I better blend that in. Now this is going to get covered by the trees anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now that I've done that side, I can go ahead and do the same thing on the other bank. So all these layers are dry, and I'm going to add the river. This stamp is too big for the river, but I have this small textured stamp from the Touches of Texture set that I'm going to use. And I'll ink it with Marina Mist and just start adding it to the river. And I can blend this in. Then I'm going to go back in with the texture again just to keep the river from looking too flat. Now I want to let this dry really well before I add the trees. I'm using Always Artichoke. And I'm going to stamp them over each other so it looks like there's a forest. And when I don't want them running into the water, I can use a Post-it for a mask. So that's it. It's a fun technique and easier than it looks. I hope you'll try it in your craft room. And don't worry about getting it perfect. Watercolor techniques usually don't look perfect, and that's part of their charm. Thanks for watching. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and leave me a comment. For more inspiration and instructions, be sure to sign up for my newsletter at www.stampingmadly.com. Visit me on Facebook and Pinterest, and don't miss another great video. Subscribe to the Mad Stamper YouTube channel now.